What up, JSIC fam? Welcome back to my channel, JSIC Poker. We are back at Commerce Casino, about to play the 100K guaranteed $350 buy-in. It is a combined stacks tournament, so if we get past every day, like I think there's 3 or 4 days, then we get to combine our stacks and play the final day on Saturday. First prize should be decent, around 30K, but really I just want to get some practice in. Haven't played live MTTs in a while, but I did pretty decent in the past. Got 48th in the main event for 100K one time, won the Planet Hollywood for 100K one time. So I'm excited to get back into the mix. If we bust, we are going to play the 5-10 no limit, $5 to $1,500. Now let's get to it, baby. So blinds are 100, 200, and we get our first playable hand, and it's the King Queen of Diamonds. And after one player limps in, we bump it up to $700 from the cutoff, and we get 2 callers. Hoping to see a good flop, it comes 10-6-2 rainbow with 1 diamond. Not bad. It gets checked to us, and it's time to c-bet as we have 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw, plus a lot of good turns for us, like an ace or a jack to barrel. So we fire 1,500 and both players call again. Okay, now we're going to need some help here, and the help comes because it's the ace of diamonds, so we turn a gutter with the backdoor flush draw, and when it gets checked to us again, I decide to fire big to 5K to rep the ace or a set and put 10s in a tough spot. And both players ends up folding, so we scoop a decent sized pot there. Now this is where things get fun because we look down at the King 8 of diamonds from the small blind. The blinds are 200, 400. And after 3 other players limp in, I limp in as well, and the big blind checks. So we go to a flop of ace queen 3 with 2 diamonds. We flop the nut flush draw, but I don't like leading into 4 other players as I don't know where I'm at, so I decide to check. The button bets small to around 1/3 of the size of the pot, which was around 750. And with that sizing into 4 other players, I thought he was capped to a single pair of aces. Plus, he should have raised pre with hands like ace queen, pocket aces, or queens. So I'm really only worried about ace 3 or pocket 3s, which I can actually represent. So I decided to get tricky here, and I raised to $3,400. The big blind, who's a fun splashy player, calls fairly quickly, and the button calls too. What is going on here? So now I know neither of them have a very strong hand, but also I think they're pretty fishy and are going to call down with ace x hands. But I'm also putting someone else on a lower combo draw like Jack 10 of diamonds or 4-5 of diamonds. I'm most likely going to give up at this point, but the turn comes a 10 of spades, which gives us a gut shot to our nut flush draw. Now the only thing I'm really worried about is ace 10 here, and I think I can get big to fold out their ace x hands, so I'm definitely thinking an overbet here. I decide on the sizing, and I decide to go all in for $32,000 into a 12-ish K pot. Very ambitious, but I can always rebuy, plus their hands are face up. The big blind folds and the button folds quickly, so our assumptions were right. We take down a nice 12K pot without even going to showdown. Now that's how you play poker. Blinds are still 4-8, and we still have a tight image, and after another tight player raises from early position to 2K, I decide to just flat here with ace queen of clubs because I see way more value in letting the other fishy players behind me call. It gets folded to the small blind, and he overbets all in for $38,000. It is a huge raise, but I know this player, he's extremely loose and can do this with almost anything in a small buy-in tournament like this. So when it gets folded to me, I say YOLO, and I put in the chips, and my read was right because he shows king 10 of spades. Now let's hold versus the nearly 50 big blind shove. The flop comes 7-2-3 rainbow, turn is a 2, and the river is a 6 of diamonds, so we hold for a massive near 80K pot with just ace high. The table's been super action so far with a mix of loose and aggressive players, so I'm still playing pretty snug. And now a loose aggressive rec opens from early position to 2K, and we look down at ace 7 of spades. And versus a good player, this would be a 3-bet or fold, but versus this wild action player, I decide to just call to keep the pot small, plus we're deep and have position. The button calls and the big blind calls too, so it's 4 ways to a flop, and there's 12K in the middle, and it is a sight to behold because it comes 8-7-7 rainbow. We flop the best 3 of a kind with backdoor spades, and when it gets checked to us, I bet small 2,500 to charge potential straight draws or get called by 8s. And when it gets folded to the fun action player, he raises to $8,500. I am now jizzing in my pants at this point. Now it's time to let him hang himself, so I call. Turn is a 5 of hearts, and he bets 22K with only around 30K behind. Now with a potential straight draw and flush draw out there, and with so little behind, I need to charge him, so I rip it all in. He doesn't look happy, but eventually he does make the call. I table my hand, and he shows Jack 8 of diamonds. Fun player indeed. We are a 96% favorite here, and the river comes a Jack of clubs, so we hold and win another massive 133K pot. We are playing well and running hot. Blinds are 1K, 1,500, and in this time I look down at ace 10 from the hijack, and I raise it to 4K. And the button, who's been V-pipping a lot from later positions, calls me from the cutoff, and everyone else folds. So there's 12K in the middle, and the flop is pretty good for us to c-bet. It's 8-2-3 with 2 clubs. We have the ace of clubs blocker plus 2 overs, so I c-bet to 4K, and he calls quickly. Now I'm putting him on an 8, a 3, or pocket pairs like 4s through 7s. The turn is a 7 of hearts, so not a good card for us to barrel, and there's not a lot of good rivers for us, so I check. He checks fairly quickly, and the river comes a Jack of diamonds. Now I'm thinking if he had a flush draw like King Jack of clubs, 9-10 of clubs, Jack 10 of clubs, he would have at least thought about betting, and with his timing I thought he had a hand that really wanted to go to showdown. The pot's now around 20K, I have the blocker to the straight, and his range is capped as he would have raised his sets and 3-bet his over pairs pre, plus he shouldn't have Jack 8 here often. So I overbet to 35K like a boss, and he doesn't think twice about folding. Let's fucking go. Everything's working for us this session. Like a boss. Blinds are 1,500, 3K, and a very aggressive player, older gentleman who loves going all in, shoves under the gun for around 45K. We look down at 10s, and I go all in to protect my hand as the other players behind me don't have much either. The button is contemplating a call, but eventually folds, and the under the gun player shows ace 3 of diamonds for a very loose shove, but we're happy to be ahead, and the flop is great because it's Jack 10-7. We pretty much have him drawing dead at this point. The turn is a 3 of clubs and the river an 8 of hearts. We stack another villain for 95K. Final table, here we come. Now we look down at ace queen offsuit. Blinds are still 1,500, 3K, and the cutoff, who's an aggressive maniac, raises to 11K. The standard here with our hand from the small blind is to 3-bet here, but I knew he was going to either call me and float tons of flops, and I've also seen him overbet jam all in with a lot of hands, so I decided to take the lower variance route and just called. The big blind folds, and the flop comes King Jack 3 with 2 diamonds. So we flop a gutter with the ace of diamonds, and we check. He c-bets half pot to 14K, and versus our opponent we have a mandatory call here. The turn comes a Jack of spades, which is good because we have a tight image and can easily check call with a Jack here. I check and he checks. The river is an offsuit 6 of clubs. I check, getting ready to call almost anything if he bets, but this player makes a smart decision and checks back. We show our hand, and he shows ace 3 off, and he says chop. No, 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 sir. Our queen plays, ship it to Papa. We win another decent sized 56K pot. Now we looked in at ace queen off again, but this time from the cutoff. And that same maniac raises to 11K. And this time having position, it's time to 3-bet this hand, so I make it 35K to go. He doesn't think twice, and he 4-bet jams all in for almost 175K, so a little over 50 big blinds. This is pretty sick. I know he can have a bunch of small pairs and hands we're ahead of because he's been doing this all night. We're committed at this point, so I call, knowing we're most likely going to be in a coin flip. and after I flip over my hand, he shows King Jack offsuit. I gotta give it to this guy, he has balls of steel, and now we have to fade. Please, poker gods, we have come so far and I've been playing well. Please reward me with this guy's stack. The flop comes 7-2-3, so we're good so far. The turn is a 10 of diamonds, and the river comes a 8 of clubs. We hold and win the biggest pot of the night so far of around 350k. We are now the chip leader. What a sick hand and what a sick way to get the chip lead with ace high. After not playing a hand for a while, we look down at ace 2 offsuit from the big blinds, and the blinds are 4,000, 8,000. That same maniac who almost busted ended up making a huge comeback and now has around 185k, and he limps the small blind. The last time he did this, he had 3 6 of diamonds, and with so much in the middle and our hand most likely being good, I decided it's time to put this fool all in for a little over 20 BBs, so I jam knowing it's the right play, and he snap calls. Holy shit, I think he just trapped us. We sheepishly show our ace deuce offsuit, and he shows queen jack of hearts. He truly is sick, but he's barely ahead at this point by around 2%. Honestly, he should have just jammed on us, because then I'd be folding out a lot of hands like king high or ace high, and he could have just taken down all that dead money. But now we have to fade again. The first card that comes is awful because it's the jack of clubs. I'm already feeling like I lost. But the next two comes the 6 of clubs and 3 of clubs. We have a flush draw plus an over, so we are still live. And the turn immediately gives us the flush because it's the 8 of clubs. He's now drawing dead or to a chop, and the river bricks off. It's the 3 of diamonds. We won a huge, massive flip for 400k with ace deuce. Just wow. After a couple of orbits, we look down at ace 10 offsuit from the hijack. Blinds are still 4k, 8k, and I raised to 22k. The cutoff, who's called me every single time I've opened, but he's had a hand every time he's played, calls me with around 150k behind. I'm not loving this spot because I know he slow plays all his really good hands, but lucky for us, the flop comes ace 10-10 with 2 hearts. We flop the second nuts, and finally I think I can beat this guy in a hand. But there's no point in betting though, with the stacks being so short, so I decide to check. He checks back, and the turn comes a deuce of hearts. I still don't think he has an ace. Maybe something like king queen or an overpair like jack jack, but I don't think I can get 2 streets of value versus him, so I decide to check to induce or to let him get there. And after I do, my eyes light up because he overbets all in, and we snap call. He goes, "Aw shit," and turns over king king without a heart. Wow, he played his hand so bad as he didn't 3-bet us pre, and then overbet jammed on the turn when he's never getting called by a hand that he beats. The river comes a jack of diamonds, so we hold, and we continue busting players. Now for the last hand of the night, and with how things are going, can you guess how this one's gonna go? We look down at pocket fries from the small blind. Blinds are 6k, 12k, and a good aggressive player opens from the cutoff to 25k. The dynamic we've had so far is every time he's opened, he's had it, but he's also gotten away from a couple of C-bets. Plus, I know he knows I'm a good player and will eventually fight back. He has around 300k, and with a hand this strong versus a standard cutoff opening range, this is too strong to fold, so I make the call. The big blind folds, so now we see a flop of queen 8-4 with 2 diamonds. We check to him, and as I guessed, he c-bets to 20k with around 80k in the middle. Definitely have to call at least once here, as he can have a lot of ace highs, gutters, etc. The turn comes magic because it's the 5 of diamonds, but no need to bet here as he's been very aggressive, and I want him to continue semi-bluffing, so I decide to check. He checks back, and the river comes an ace of clubs. Now I don't think he has 2 pair, because if he had the ace of diamonds, he would have most likely barreled the turn. So I'm putting him on a hand like queen 9 through king queen, And versus that, I definitely want to bet pretty big here, as all those are going to check back. Plus, we have a lot of missed gutters, backdoor flush draws, etc. So I bet 90K. He tanks and eventually makes the call. And of course, we are good. We take down a very nice 300K pot. Shortly after that, the last player busted and we made it to the final 8. So we made the money and are guaranteed around $500. Plus, we are the chip leader with around 555K heading into day 2. It's time to play the next 4 days to try and build up another stack and make it to those final 8s. And hopefully we can combine massive stacks and be a dominant chip leader going into that day 2 on Saturday. All right, guys, we just finished day 1 as chip leader, baby. Let's fucking go. This is the best I played all month, and I just finally found my groove. And the kicker was I just took my time through hands. I wasn't rushing like I have been all month, and that definitely helped. Plus, live tournaments is by far my best game. I felt really comfortable. I knew exactly how to play the table. I took my time, I was patient, and I ran well, finally. So I will be back with hands from day 2 and day 3, day 4, day 5 until I hopefully bring you guys a championship. That'll be super epic. So if you guys like this video, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be coming out the video every other day, maybe sometimes even every day. It kind of just depends what I'm doing. But yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed it and take care. See you on the next one. Later, guys.